Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm here to share my first alternate for the Expressions in Color June 2021 Paper Pumpkin Kit. Let's get started. For this Expressions in Color alternate, we're going to be using this card that has the fresh freesia and then the alcohol ink art on it. And I've got my paper trimmer, and you're just going to slide your card in so that you're at 4 1/4. You want to make sure your score line is pretty much here in the center. And I'm just going to move mine over just a smidge and take my cutting blade. And then I want to cut this piece down so that it is 4 1/16. Save that, by 5 5/16. And we'll save this little piece as well. Okay, so let me take my trimmer out of the way. I'm going to take 2 of my layering circles, and I'm going to cut the fresh freesia circle out of the middle, and then I'm going to pair these and use a piece of washi to hold them together and cut a frame from the alcohol ink piece, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's our piece from the back of the card and the circle that I have cut out. You can see it's embossed here with the dots. I've used the checks and dots embossing folders. There are 2 of these in this pack. One is squares and the other is the dots that I used. Now both the layering circles dies and the checks and dots embossing folders fit in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And then I cut the frame here using the pair of layering circles dies, and I'm just going to use my multi-purpose glue here and adhere this to my circle. Now if you prefer, you could have used adhesive sheets when you cut this out, and this little circle would have adhesive on the back and be ready to adhere. So let's just rub this right around the edge here, and then we're going to set that aside and move on to our next step. So next I've got my Stamparatus, and I've got a basic white layer here, and this is cut to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And I've got the little floral from the Expressions in Color stamp set, and I'm just inking that with the fresh freesia. Let's move my magnet here just a little bit. It's in the way. Give that a rub all over. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my circular grid here and line it back up with my lines that I've got drawn on my Stamparatus grid paper. And let's use a magnet to hold that in place, and this will help me move my stamp and line it up. Okay, and then we're just going to take that right back out of the way and ink and stamp, and then repeat for this other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll speed this up, and we'll move on to the next steps then. Now I do love that I can get ink all over my plate and it doesn't end up on my card. Okay, so let's take this layer out of the way, and then I've got one of the tags that came in the kit, and we're going to stamp our sentiment on that using Evening Evergreen ink. Evening Evergreen was one of the inks that came in your kit. So let's lay this on here, and I just want to give it a light rub across the back instead of pouncing, and making sure that my tag is straight. You could do this in your Stamparatus if you cared to. Okay, so there's our sentiment, and now we're ready to assemble. So let's pull in. I've got a thick basic white base that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And then here's one of the strips that we cut off our card base at the beginning, and we're going to repurpose it for a little accent strip for the inside of our card. So let me just line up my card. And I love these on the inside of a card. They finish it, and it's a great way to use up your little scraps of cardstock and designer paper. Okay, then next I've got this fresh freesia piece that was part of a card base in the kit, and I'm going to layer this stamped piece that we just did onto it. And let's start a new sheet of dimensionals. Okay, so I want here, and then in the center I'm going to do a double stack here. Okay, and then let's turn this over and do dimensionals on this. And okay, now let's start and layer up our card. And just checking my top and 2 sides. Okay, and then we'll add this piece. Now we double stacked in the center since our bottom layer has a hole in it, and we've added dimensionals. And again, checking my top and 2 sides. A little bit of fuzz there on the side. And then we're going to add dimensionals on this piece as well. Love my dimensionalized cards. It just makes even simple pieces look more interesting. And see how that nicely frames our piece there. And then we'll go with a single here and a double stack out here on this end, just checking to make sure I've got the words in the right order. And then I want to add a little ribbon to this first. To do that, I've got this fresh freesia open weave ribbon that's got this great little satin edging on it, and then the sheer inside. So I'm going to cut my end at an angle, and I've got probably about 18 inches here, maybe a little more than that. And I'm going to cut right up the middle so that it saves some of that sheer organza-like interior bit. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time holding on to things today. There we go. Almost done. Just trying to make sure I'm cutting up more of the middle than I am off to one side, so that I'll have a second piece that I can use on another project that's pretty similar in look. And I'm making cutting look way harder than it is. We all know that cutting up the center of a ribbon is not a hard thing to do. Okay, so let's put this one out of the way, and I'm just going to leave a long-ish tail on this. And let's see, I might like to double this back and forth so it's a little fluffy, but still not too big, since we have cut off half of it. Oh. Okay, let's do that again. 2 loops on both sides. Now this time it'll work. You can't have 1 loop on one side and 2 loops on the other. Okay, and then you just have to hold this and pull that. It's not really tied tight like a bow, so you do have to hold your pieces and adjust. There we go. Don't want these loops to be giant sized. Okay, and then to hold this in place, I'm going to take my Take Your Pick and add a glue dot to the back of my knot here, and that'll keep it from opening up, and it also lets us adhere this. Okay, let's move these out of the way, and then let's grab our sentiment here. And I'm okay hiding that just a little bit under my bow. And then I'm going to trim just the smidgiest bit off of this end and give it a little angle cut. And then we're going to give this a little more embellishment. We're going to use these Playing with Patterns resin dots and just tuck a large one in here, and then take one of the medium dots over here and pair it with one of the smaller dots, and then we've got a little embellishment balance on our card. And there we are with my first alternate for the Expressions in Color kit, paper pumpkin kit from June 2021. Thank you for stopping in today. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your card making friends. If you need any of the additional supplies that weren't in your kit, you can use the link in the description below and shop in my store if you're in the US. And when you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell, you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Have a great day. Bye.